In this today's lecture, we are going to discuss a very important topic of the solution chapter, that is known as a colligative properties. Colligative properties. Colligative properties are the properties of a dilute solution which depend upon the total number of particles of the solute, and are independent on the nature of the solute particle. That means the shape of the solute particle, or size of the solute particle, nature of the solute particle, or charge on the solute particle. Irrespective of the nature of the solute, only those properties which depend upon the total number of solute particles or total number of moles of solute are known as a colligative properties. In the sense, colligative properties, which are the properties of a dilute solution which depend upon the total number of moles of solute or total number of particles of solute. These are the properties of a dilute solution which directly proportional to the total number of the particles of the solute. That's why these properties are also referred as a constitutional properties, otherwise democratic properties. In the sense, if the number of solute particles increases in a given solution, the colligative properties also increases. If the number of solute particles in a given solution decreases, then the colligative properties also decreases. That means these properties are depending upon the total number of the solute particles. That's why this is a democratic property. Colligative property is nothing but a democratic property or constitutional property. Okay. Now there are four important types of colligative properties which we have to study. The first one will be the relative lowering in vapor pressure. We know in the Raoult's law, the relative lowering of vapor pressure, it is a ratio between the lowering of vapor pressure of a solution divided by vapor pressure of a pure solvent, is known as a RLVP, relative lowering of vapor pressure. Yes or no? Now the second property, elevation in the boiling point. Elevation in the boiling point, delta means change in the boiling point, that means elevation in the boiling point, delta TB. So TB stands for boiling point, delta stands for elevation, that is increase in the boiling point. And number 3, depression in the freezing point. Freezing point TF, depression means change, that will be decrease, so depression in the freezing point, delta TF. And fourth one will be the osmotic pressure, it is symbol pi. The symbol of the osmotic pressure is pi. So once again I am repeating, how many total number of colligative properties? 4. What are those? Number 1, relative lowering of vapor pressure. Number 2, elevation in the boiling point, that will be delta TB. Number 3, depression in the freezing point, that is the delta TF. And the last fourth one will be the osmotic pressure, that is the pi. Osmotic pressure, that is the pi. Okay. Now what is the main importance of these colligative properties? These colligative properties are very useful to determine the molar mass of a non-volatile solute present in the given volatile solvent. That means these four colligative properties are essential properties to determine molar mass of non-volatile solute. If any one of the colligative property, if you know any one of the colligative property, with the help of that colligative property, we can calculate the molar mass of a non-volatile solute. That is the very important application regarding the colligative properties. And these colligative properties also depending upon the molality of the solution. Just now I told you number of solute particles, indirectly the concentration, the total concentration of the particles. Here which concentration we are using? We are using the concentration, nothing but molality. What is the definition of a molality? It is the number of moles of solute, divided by weight of solvent in kilogram. Number of moles of a solute whole divided by weight of a solvent in kilogram is known as what? Molality. Is known as what? Molality. Okay. Now here, question number 60. Which of the following is a colligative property? Colligative properties are how many types? 4 types. What are those? Number 1, relative lowering of vapor pressure. Number 2, elevation in the boiling point. Number 3, depression in the freezing point. Number 4, osmotic pressure. Okay. Now, out of the four options, the first option, freezing point, it is not the colligative property. Colligative property will be the depression in the freezing point. Okay. So second one, boiling point, it is also not a colligative property. Elevation in the boiling point is a colligative property. Remember, osmotic pressure, yes, is itself a colligative property. Are you getting my point? So freezing point, boiling point, they are not the colligative properties. Only the osmotic pressure will be the colligative property. Okay. Now the next question, that will be the question number 61. Which of the following is not a colligative property? Lowering of vapor pressure is not a colligative property. Yes, this is not a colligative property because relative lowering of vapor pressure, RLVP, relative lowering of vapor pressure is referred as a colligative property, but not the lowering of vapor pressure. Yes or no? And the other options, if you see, relative lowering of vapor pressure, it is a colligative property. It is a colligative property. Next to osmotic pressure, it is also colligative property. Okay, which is not a colligative property? LVP, lowering of vapor pressure, is not a colligative property. Yes or no? Now, to understand the colligative properties, how they depend upon the number of moles of solute or solute particles, let's suppose I am assuming the temperature will be constant. Okay, now we are taking 3 containers, 3 different types of solutions. In the first container, I am taking the 1 kg water in which I am dissolving the 0.1 moles of a glucose. How many moles of a glucose? 0.1 moles. That means how many grams of a glucose? 18 grams. How to find the number of moles? Number of moles will be equal to given mass. Number of moles will be equal to what? Given mass whole divided by molar mass. Given mass whole divided by what? Molar mass. Do you know what is the molar mass of a glucose? That will be the 180. Molar mass of a glucose will be 180 and the given mass of a glucose will be 18 grams. So how many moles of a glucose is there? 0.1 moles of a glucose in the first container. That means this will be corresponding to 0.1 molal solution. 0.1 molal solution because the solvent is 1 kg. Okay. Now the second container having the 6 grams of a urea. Now the molar mass of a urea will be 60. So in the denominator 60 and the weight of a urea I am taking 6 grams. So how many moles of urea will be present? 0.1 moles of urea in 1 kg solvent. So it is also 0.1 molal. 0.1 molal, that is a molality. And one more solution I am taking, potassium chloride. Do you know what is the molar mass of KCl? Potassium 39 and chlorine will be 35.5. So overall, if you see, there is a 74.5 grams of 1 mole of a KCl. How to find the number of moles? Given mass of a KCl 7.45. What is the molar mass of a KCl? That will be 74.5. So how many moles of KCl I am dissolving? 0.1 moles. In how many kilogram of solvent water? 1 kg. So it is also 0.1 molal. So all the concentrations now I am taking equal, 0.1 molal, 0.1 molal, 0.1 molal. Now I have to compare the relative lowering of vapor pressure because already we know in the topic of Raoult's law, we know relative lowering of vapor pressure. That is the lowering of vapor pressure of a solution divided by vapor pressure of a pure solvent. Okay. Now you see, in the first solution, let's suppose the relative lowering of vapor pressure will be X. In the second solution, relative lowering of vapor pressure will be Y. And in the third solution, the relative lowering of vapor pressure will be Z. Now you see, I have to compare the X, Y, Z values. Okay. Now, out of the 3 solutions, if you carefully observe, potassium chloride, that is the third solution. Do you know KCl is a ionic compound? KCl is a which compound? Ionic compound. We know ionic compounds undergo ionization or dissociation in water. Yes or no? When we dissolving the KCl in water, how we dissociated? As a K plus and Cl minus. How we dissociated? As a potassium ion and chloride ion. Do you know if you take the 1 mole of a KCl, it will give 1 mole of a K plus ions and 1 mole of a Cl minus ions in the aqueous solution? Yes. That means if you take the 0.1 mole of KCl, it will produce 0.1 moles of a cation, that will be K plus, and 0.1 moles of a anion, that is the Cl minus. So total how many moles of ions will be present in the solution? 0.1 plus 0.1, that will be 0.2. Actually we are taking the 0.1 moles of KCl only. But unfortunately what happens, KCl when it is dissolving water, it producing the ions. So we have to consider the concentration of each ion in the solution. So overall concentration will be what? 0.2. Compared to first two solutions, that means 0.1, 0.1. But in the third solution, what about the solute? Solute undergoing what? Ionization, since it is a ionic compound. Here, what is the phenomena occurs here? Ionization, otherwise dissociation. Because of ionization, number of solute particles increases or not? Yes. Because the number of solute particle increases, we know the definition of a colligative property which are directly proportional to the, that means the colligative properties are directly proportional to the number of solute particles. That means as the number of solute particle increases, the colligative property value increases, especially relative lowering of vapor pressure increases in the solution number 3, that will be the solution Z. Solution, third solution, and whose RLVP will be Z. That means the X value, Y value here same. Why the X and Y values are same? Because glucose and urea, they do not undergo any ionization in the solution. That means their physical state do not changes. Are you getting my point? Because the glucose and urea, they are which compounds? Covalent compounds. Glucose and urea, which compounds? Covalent compound. Glucose is a covalent compound and urea is also which compound? Covalent compound. We know covalent compounds do not undergo ionization, whereas ionic compounds undergo ionization. Are you getting my point? That means if you see in the 18 grams of a glucose, that means the 0.1 moles of a glucose. So you have how many molecules of a glucose? That will be 0.1 into Avogadro number of glucose molecules. Are you getting my point? That means here 0.1 into Avogadro number of 0.1 into Avogadro number of which molecules? That will be the glucose molecules will be present in the first container. Yes or no? Glucose molecules. Similarly, in the second container also, urea do not undergo ionization. Here also 0.1 into Avogadro number of which molecules? Urea molecules. Which molecules? Urea molecules. That means in the first two solutions, number of a solute particles remain same. That means their colligative properties also remain same. That's why the first two solutions relative lowering of vapor pressure X and Y are here equal. But what about the solution 3? That means the KCl dissolved in the water. Here the number of moles become double. If you see, we are taking only 0.1, but here we are getting 0.2 moles. That means total number of particles 0.2 into Avogadro number. That means here the number of particles increases. So colligative property value also increases. That means in the solution 3, the relative lowering of vapor pressure Z value is obviously greater than the X and Y. Is obviously greater than what? X and Y. So what is the final answer of relative lowering of vapor pressure of these three solutions? Z greater than X is equal to Y, or XY less than Z. Are you getting my point? So this is the main important concept regarding the colligative properties. Colligative properties are those properties of a dilute solution which depend upon the number of solute particles irrespective of the nature of the solute. If the number of solute particles are same, then the colligative property is also same. If the number of solute particle changes, then the colligative properties also changes. Okay. Now here we have to discuss the two important cases regarding the substance or solute. Solute may undergo ionization or dissociation. Number 1. Number 2, solute undergo association. Okay. Now here number of solute particles during the ionization, what happens? Increases. when the number of particles increases, the colligative properties also what happens? Increases. Whereas in the association means together. That means let's suppose two particles are there. Two particles are combining to give only one particle. This is called dimer. If it become three particles, become one particle, trimer. If the four particles combine to give one particle, tetramer. If large number of particles, let's suppose n number of particles are there, combining to give only one molecule or one particle, that means this is a polymer. This is what? Polymer. Are you getting my point? Such type of reactions are known as a association. Which reactions we can say? Association. So solute can undergo ionization or dissociation. Number 2, association. In both the cases, in the ionization or dissociation case, the particles number increases, thereby colligative properties increases. Whereas in the association case, number of particles decreases, thereby colligative properties decreases. Okay, that means in these two cases the colligative properties were different. Okay, which can be explained with the help of experimental data. That's why such type of colligative properties are known as abnormal colligative properties. The word abnormal colligative properties when we can use if the solute either undergoes ionization, dissociation or association, then the colligative properties are known as what? Abnormal colligative properties, and the molar mass of a solute is called abnormal molar mass. Abnormal molar mass. Okay. Now here Van 't Hoff introduced a factor that is called Van 't Hoff factor. He introduced one factor to explain the abnormal colligative properties. That means if the solute undergoing dissociation or association, then the experimental value, that is the observed value, that is the actual value of colligative property, will be different from theoretically predicted value. Okay, these two are not equal. In that case, Van 't Hoff introduced one factor to equalize the colligative property which is determined experimentally, and the colligative property which is predicted theoretically must be equal. To equalize these two colligative property values, one is determined experimentally and other one by theoretically, he introduced one important factor known as a Van 't Hoff factor. Okay, when we use Van 't Hoff factor in case of dissociation or ionization of a solute, in case of association of a solute. Are you getting my point? Now, what is the definition of a Van 't Hoff factor? Van 't Hoff factor, it takes into the count of number of particles after association or dissociation of the solute. After dissociation or association of the solute, how many number of particles will be present? That will be taken into the consideration. Okay. Now, Van 't Hoff factor is a ratio between the number of particles after association or dissociation divided by number of particles before association or dissociation. Are you getting my point? Now, number of particles present after the dissociation association in the numerator, and in the denominator number of particles before association or dissociation. Okay, otherwise number of particles indirectly nothing but the colligative properties indirectly nothing but depend upon the number of particles. Colligative properties are the properties which are directly proportional to the number of particles of a solute. So that's why instead of number of particles of a solute after association dissociation, what I am writing experimental, observed, otherwise actual, otherwise abnormal. All these are relevant terms. Experimental colligative property, otherwise observed colligative property, otherwise actual colligative property, otherwise abnormal colligative property value divided by theoretical value of the colligative property. Okay. Now, one more important thing, the colligative properties which are directly proportional to number of solute particles, which are directly proportional to number of solute particles and inversely proportional to molar mass of the solute. This is very important. And inversely proportional to the molar mass of a solute. Are you getting my point? Number of moles, how we can find? Given mass upon molar mass. Are you getting my point? Now, here molar mass and number of moles, if you see, they are inversely proportional for a given amount of a substance. Okay, if the number of moles or number of solute particle increases, that means the molecular weight decreases or vice versa. Are you getting my point? Now, that's why instead of colligative property, if I want to make it into molar mass, then what I have to do, I have to interchanging these two. That means the in the denominator the theoretical value of a colligative property, that will be written in the numerator theoretical value of a molar mass. Theoretical value of what? Molar mass. In the numerator experimental, observed, actual or abnormal colligative property. Instead of that, what I am writing, experimental molar mass or abnormal molar mass, otherwise observed, otherwise experimental molar mass. Okay. Now this iota, this is also known as a Van 't factor iota I, represented by the symbol I. The iota value, if it greater than 1, in the sense solute undergoing ionization or dissociation. If the iota value less than 1, solute undergoing association. If the solute undergo neither association nor dissociation, then the iota, that is the Van 't factor, is equal to 1. So this is the ideal case. Here the third one will be the ideal case. Unless until if it is not mentioned in the question, otherwise we don't know the nature of the solute, whether it is electrolyte, ionic compound, or whether it is undergoing association. So the ideal condition for the Van 't factor will be what? 1. What is the Van 't factor value, ideal value? 1. Now we have to see the each and every case. What is the first case here? When solute undergoing dissociation. When solute undergoing dissociation, in the sense solute should be ionic compound or not? Yes, because ionic compounds only undergo ionization. Sometimes we can also say electrolyte. Electrolyte compounds are ionic compounds. Okay. Now the best example we are what is the iota value, Van 't factor regarding the ionic compounds or electrolytic compounds? That is the greater than 1. Okay. Let's suppose we have NaCl. How NaCl will be dissociated in the aqueous medium? Na plus and Cl minus. Let's suppose before dissociation I am taking how many moles of NaCl? Let's suppose small a moles of NaCl I am taking. Okay. Let's suppose from the 1 mole, let's suppose from the 1 mole, if alpha moles of a NaCl undergo ionization, which is known as a degree of dissociation. Then from the A moles of a NaCl, how many moles of NaCl will be undergo dissociation? A into alpha moles. Are you getting my point? That means total A moles, how many moles dissociated? A into alpha. So how many moles will be left here? A minus A alpha. Now the stoichiometry 1:1 ratio. So how many moles of NaCl dissociated? A into alpha moles. So how many moles of cation and anion will be formed? Each A into alpha moles. Now tell me, before the dissociation, okay, how many total moles present? Only A moles, because there will be no moles of products. Number of moles of products will be 0. But after complete dissociation, not complete, after dissociation, how many moles of NaCl, suppose if it is left, let's suppose, how many moles it will be left? A minus alpha. And how many moles of Na plus Cl minus will be formed? A alpha. So, and A alpha. If you total add these three particles, so minus A alpha plus A alpha gets cancelled. Finally, how many number of solute particles will be present after dissociation? A plus A alpha. What is the definition of a iota? Iota nothing but the total number of particles after dissociation divided by before dissociation. Before dissociation only one A particles are there. After dissociation A plus A alpha particles are there. So take the common A and cancel out, you will get 1 plus alpha. What is the iota value? 1 plus alpha. Are you getting my point? We know alpha value is always greater than 0. Yes or no? And alpha value, maximum value. What is the maximum alpha value? 100%. What is the maximum value of alpha? That will be equal to 100% in terms of percentage. Are you getting my point? That means maximum value will be 1. Are you getting my point? Now the alpha value in between 0 to 1. Alpha value in between 0 to 1. Let's suppose I am taking the second example, magnesium chloride. How it dissociated as Mg plus 2 and 2Cl minus. Suppose if I am taking the A moles of MgCl2, out of which let's suppose from the 1 mole alpha mole dissociated, from the A moles A alpha dissociated, according to which A alpha moles of Mg plus 2 into A alpha moles of Cl minus, because the stoichiometry of a Cl minus will be 2. That's why I am taking the 2 into A alpha. Okay, from here if you see the total number of particles after dissociation will be A minus alpha plus A alpha plus 2A alpha. Minus A alpha plus A alpha gets cancelled. Finally you will get A plus 2A alpha divided by initial number of particles A. So A will be gets cancelled, 1 plus 2 alpha. Okay. In case of aluminum chloride, similar calculation if you see, you will get 1 plus 3 alpha. 1 plus 3 alpha. So that's why I am taking a general example. Let's suppose AXBY is a solute. AXBY is a solute. Let's suppose A moles of solute is taken. Before dissociation, there will be no cation and no anion. There will be no cation and no anion. So number of moles of cation and anion will be 0. But after dissociation, so A alpha moles of cations and A alpha moles of B alpha moles of how many moles here? XA moles here also YA moles. Here should be Y into A here. Here Y into A. Are you getting my point? Y into A. So this is a small correction is there. Now here, because the stoichiometry will be here X moles, here the Y moles, that's why X A alpha, Y A alpha. Are you getting my point? So the total moles after dissociation will be A minus A alpha plus X A alpha plus Y A alpha. After simplification, you will get iota value equal to 1 plus X plus Y minus 1 into alpha. This is a very, very important expression. Okay. From here, I want to calculate the degree of dissociation or ionization alpha, which is nothing but iota minus 1 by X plus Y minus 1. Okay. Let's suppose when general formula I am writing here. Let's suppose I have solute A. Okay. From a solute A, there are, let's suppose, A1, A2, A3, A4, so on particles are producing. So how many total particles are producing? Let's suppose n particles are producing, or n moles of particles are producing. Let's suppose n particles are producing. So here how many particles actually here X, here Y. So X plus Y will be equal to total number of particles after producing, after dissociation producing. So that's why I am taking the X plus Y value as a n. So after dissociation, how many particles are producing? Let's suppose n particles are producing, then iota I is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Iota is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1, where here in this above case the X plus Y value, that is the total number of particles after dissociation value, equal to n. Are you getting my point? Now if you see here how many particles are producing, first example 2 particles are producing. So 2 particles means here alpha into n minus 1, alpha into 2 minus 1, so 1 into alpha. In case of this, how many particles are producing? 1 plus 2, 3. So shall I write the alpha into 3 minus 1, alpha into 3 minus 1, 2 into alpha. In case of third example, total particles producing 4 minus 1 into alpha, because n minus 1 into alpha, 4 minus 1, 3 into alpha, 3 alpha. That's why here I am writing n minus 1 into alpha. Okay. So this is a very, very, very important formula. We have to remember this formula regarding the dissociation of a electrolytic solution or ionic compound. Are you getting my point? Now here case 2, when solute undergoing association, that means the number of particles, what happens? Decreases. In that case, the iota value less than 1. Remember, when the solute undergoing dissociation, iota value must and should greater than 1, should be greater than 1. Whereas the solute undergoing association, that means number of particles decreases. That's why the iota value, I value less than 1. Are you getting my point? And the next one, example for dimerization. The solute undergoing association, the best example, dimerization. What is the meaning of a dimerization? Suppose when we have 2 particles, when these 2 particles are combined to give only 1 particle, that means when 2 particles are combined to give only 1 particle, that phenomena is known as a dimerization, and the molecule which is obtained is called dimer, and the molecule which is obtained is known as what? Dimer. Are you getting my point? That means here, let's suppose initially how many moles I am taking? A moles. So how many moles of a dimer? 0. Let's suppose here from 1 mole alpha mole dissociated, from the A moles A alpha dissociated. So how many moles of dimer will be from A alpha by 2? Because if it is taking 1 mole, from 1 mole A alpha moles, from 2 moles, how many moles of dimer form? A into alpha by 2, that is A alpha by 2. Okay. Now what is iota? Number of particles associated after, number of particles formed after association by total number of particles before association. So after association, A minus alpha plus A alpha by 2. So A minus alpha by 2 by A. That means A gets cancelled. Iota value 1 minus alpha by 2. Now second example, trimerization. Let's suppose 3 particles I am taking. These 3 particles are combined to give only one particle. That particle is known as a trimer. This molecule is known as what? Trimer. Are you getting my point? Trimer. Okay. Now here also, initially how many moles of reactant is there? A moles. From 1 mole alpha mole decomposes, from A moles A alpha decomposes, the remaining moles of reactant A minus L alpha, and the product will be A alpha by 3, because here the stoichiometry of a reactant is 3. Are you getting my point? So from from A moles A alpha moles, from 1 mole A alpha moles, that means here from 1 mole alpha moles. Are you getting my point? So here how many moles here? Here how many moles? A moles I am taking, so A alpha. For A moles how many moles? A alpha. So A alpha. But the stoichiometry corresponding to here, stoichiometry will be for the reactant side only 3 and product side is 1. Are you getting my point? So for 1 mole we will get A alpha by 3 or alpha A by 3. Okay. From here we can calculate the iota value. I is equal to 1 minus 2 alpha by 3. And the general example, polymerization. So N into A will be equal to A in AN. That means this is a polymer. This is a which molecule? A huge large molecule polymer. For such purpose, the total number of initially A moles, A minus A alpha, after association A alpha by N, the polymer particles, the total number of particles will be after association A minus A alpha plus A alpha by N. After simplification you will get iota value equal to 1 plus 1 by N minus 1 into alpha. 1 plus 1 by N minus 1 into alpha. From here what is the alpha value? Alpha value will be equal to iota minus 1. Alpha value from here shall I write alpha value equal to iota I minus 1 upon 1 by N minus 1. Otherwise if you take the common minus, you take the minus 1 common from the numerator and denominator, you will get 1 minus iota upon 1 minus 1 by N. Okay. Now the best example for the association, you take the acetic acid. When the solvent is benzene, that is the organic solvent, the acetic acid molecule undergo dimerization via intermolecular hydrogen bonding. We know acetic acid exists in the dimeric form in the solvent benzene. Remember, if the solvent changes, remember this is a very important point. Let's suppose if I am using the solvent water, if the solvent is a polar solvent, let's suppose I am using the solvent water. When we use the solvent water, acetic acid behaves like a electrolyte and it undergo ionization. So this case regarding the dissociation case. This case is regarding the dissociation case when the solvent is water. When the solvent is a polar, then acetic acid undergo dissociation. But when the solvent is a non-polar, that means like benzene, then the acetic acid molecule do not undergo dissociation, they undergo association via intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Are you getting my point? And one more example, benzoic acid in the solvent benzene also undergo dimerization. Here the benzoic acid 2 molecules undergoing association via intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Here also remember, suppose if the benzoic acid, that will be C6H5COOH. When the benzoic acid is dissolved in the solvent water, which is a polar solvent, then benzoic acid behaves like a ionic compound, so it will undergo ionization. Are you getting my point? This is corresponding to dissociation. Are you getting my point? That means solvent can also play important role during the association and dissociation. Are you getting my point? So this is very important. Okay. Now case 3, when the solute do not undergo neither association nor dissociation, then what happens? The iota value always taken as a unity. In case of a non-electrolytes which do not undergo ionization, best example aqueous solution of urea, glucose. Do you know the molecular formula of a urea? That will be CONH2 taken twice. And molecular weight of a glucose C6H12O6, and also fructose C6H12O6, sucrose C12H22O11. All these molecules are known as a which molecules? Covalent molecules. Covalent molecules do not undergo any ionization. That's why their physical state do not changes. That's why we have to consider the iota Vanta factor is unity. Are you getting my point? Next, when solute ionic compound and it is 100% ionization, when the solute undergoing 100% ionization, then the alpha value taken as a 1. So what is the iota value? Iota is equal to 1 plus n minus 1 into alpha. If the value of alpha, if I am taking the 1, then what happens? 1 plus n minus 1, so minus 1 plus 1 gets cancelled. So finally you will get the iota value equal to number of solute particles produced after the dissociation. This is a very, very important. Unless until in the question, if the degree of ionization is not mentioned, we have to assume the solute should be undergo 100% dissociation. Otherwise, if in the question if it is mentioned, according to which we have to consider the alpha value. Yes or no? If the alpha value not given, then what we have to assume? The solute should be 100% ionization. In that case, what should be the iota value? Nothing but the number of ions produced. By seeing the electrolyte, by seeing the ionic compound, how many number of ions are producing, we can find with the help of that number, which is equal to iota. When the next one, when solute undergoing 100% association, then the degree of association, that will be alpha equal to 1. So here alpha value I am writing the 1. So plus 1 minus 1 gets cancelled. So iota value equal to 1 upon n. Iota value equal to 1 upon n. That means suppose I am taking acetic acid. Suppose if acetic acid 100% association. Acetic acid undergoes 100% association into dimer. Into what? Dimer. When acetic acid undergoes 100% into dimer, the n value I am taking the 2. So iota value equal to 1 upon n, 1 upon 2, that will be the 0.5. So the iota value equal to 0.5 in case of 100% association of acetic acid in the solvent benzene. If the 100% is not given, according to the given question, we have to find the iota value. If the alpha value given. If the iota value given, we can find the alpha, vice versa. Okay. Now there are some examples. Substance, ions produced, and what is the Vanta factor. Here, unless until if the percentage of, that is the degree of dissociation not given, what I am assuming, degree of dissociation alpha value I am taking 100%, that is the iota, alpha value I am assuming to be unity, that is the maximum value I am assuming. Are you getting my point? The first compound NaCl, how it dissociated as a Na plus and Cl minus. So how many total number of ions? 1 plus 1, 2. That will be the iota. Similarly, calcium chloride, 1 calcium and 2 chloride ions. So 1 plus 2, 3. Aluminum chloride, 1 aluminum cation, 3 chloride ion, 1 plus 3, that is the 4. This is a potassium ferrocyanide. What is the K4FeCN taken 6? The name of this one is very important. We will learn in the inorganic chemistry coordination compounds. The name of this compound is called potassium ferrocyanide. Potassium ferrocyanide. Now, how the potassium ferrocyanide dissociated, that we have to see in the inorganic chemistry. But I am writing here K4FeCN taken 6. Now here the complete square bracket, that means this part is a complex part, so it should be as it is in the aqueous medium. So potassium and FeCN taken whole 6. Are you getting my point? FeCN taken 6. Now you see how many potassiums are there? 4. So 4 positive charges, so there must be 4 negative charges in order to balance. Are you getting my point? So total number of ions will be equal to how much? 4 plus 1, so total number of particles will be 5. So that's why iota equal to 5. If we consider 100% of ionization, remember 100% of ionization, the number of solute particles produced nothing but the Van 't factor. Next to CONH3 taken 6 Cl3. Now this is also coordination compound CONH3 taken 6 whole Cl3. Again what I am saying here, square bracket, complete square bracket is a complex ion. It is a which ion? Complex ion. So complex ion do not undergo further ionization. That's why we have to consider the whole complex species. Whole complex species is a one particle. And how many chloride ions are there? 3. So minus 3. So plus 3 will be the charge on the cation, complex ion. So total number of ions, 1 complex ion and 3 chloride. 1 plus 3, that will be 4. So iota value equal to what? 4. Are you getting my point? Here what is the iota value of CO? NH3 taken 6 Cl3, that will be 4. And aluminum sulfate, 2 aluminum cations and 3 sulfate ions, 2 plus 3, that will be the 5. And here the KAgCN taken twice. Just now I told you the complete square bracket will be 1 particle and potassium 1 particle, 1 plus 1, 2 particle. Barium nitrate, barium 1 particle, nitrate 2 particle, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 2, that will be the 3. And this will be the mercurous chloride. This is very, very important. What is the mercurous chloride formula? Hg2Cl2. The mercurous chloride will dissociated into mercurous ion and chloride ion. So this is a mercurous ion. Which ion? Mercurous ion. The oxidation state of mercury in the plus 1 state, mercurous ion. So total number of particles 1 plus 2, 3. So iota value equal to what? 3. Are you getting my point? Now the next one H3PO4, 3 H plus ions, 1 phosphate ion, 1 plus 3, 4. H3PO3, only 2 H plus ions and 1 HPO3 minus 2 ion. So 1 plus 3, 1 plus 2 plus 1, 3. And H3PO2, 1 H plus ion and 1 H2PO2 minus 1 plus 1, that will be the 2. Do you know the basicity of a phosphoric acids, oxyacids of phosphorus? That means here this is also very important. H3PO4. It is a tribasic acid. How it dissociated? As a 3 H plus ions plus PO4 minus 3, phosphate ion. So total number of ions will be how much? 3. So iota value equal to 3. Okay. The second one, H3PO3. This is a phosphorus, orthophosphorus. Now only 2 H plus ions will be ionages and one hydrogen will be directly connected to phosphorus central atom. So total number of ions will be, just wait, in the first case here the total number of ions will be 3 plus 1. The total number of ions 3 plus 1, that is equal to 4. So that's why here the iota value equal to 4. But in the next case, total number of ions 2 plus 1, 3. So iota value 3. And number 3, hypophosphorus acid, that will be H3PO2. This is a monobasic acid. Only 1 H plus will be ionizable and the remaining 2 hydrogens are directly bonded with the phosphorus atom, central atom. So total number of ions produced 2. So that's why here the iota value 2. Iota value what? 2. So this is very, very important. We have to remember how the solute is undergoing dissociation in the aqueous medium. That should be very, very important. Unless until we do not know how to solute undergoing into the component constituent ions, it is difficult to analyze the iota, that is the Van 't factor. Okay. Now there are some questions regarding the degree of dissociation or Van 't factor. Question number 62. An electrolyte AX2 is 40% ionages. Calculate the Van 't factor. First of all, XY2, how it dissociated? As a X plus 2 plus 2Y minus. Total number of ions will be 3. If the percentage of degree of ionization is not given, then we can say the total number of ions equal to iota. But the percentage of ionization is given, which is alpha is equal to 40%, nothing but 40 by 100, that means 0.4. Are you getting my point? From here, do you know what is the Van 't factor iota? Iota is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Remember, this formula is very, very, very important. What is the iota formula? 1 plus alpha into n minus 1, where n is the total number of ions produced. 1 plus total number of alpha value 0.4 into total number of ions 3 minus 1. Okay. 1 plus 0.4 into 2. So 1 plus 0.8, 1 plus 0.8, that will be the 1.8. Are you getting my point? The next question, that is the question number 63. The potassium ferrocyanide. This is very, very important. Just now I told you what is the formula of a potassium ferrocyanide. That will be the K4FeCN taken 6. Remember, potassium ferrocyanide K4FeCN taken 6 times. How the potassium ferrocyanide dissociated in the aqueous medium? As a potassium ion and ferrocyanide ion. Total how many number of particles are producing in the aqueous medium? 4 plus 1, that will be the total number of particles here, 5. Now what is the alpha value given? 80%. That means 80 by 100, that will be 0.8. Okay. Now iota formula, iota is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Iota is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. 1 plus alpha value 0.8. So n value 5, 5 minus 1, how much? 4. Are you getting my point? So here 4 into 0.8, so 3.2. 3.2 plus 1, that will be the 4.2, that is the iota value. Yes or no? Remember, one more important compound is there, that is the potassium ferricyanide. Potassium ferricyanide. Ferrocyanide, both are important. This is the K3FeCN taken 6. What is the K3FeCN taken 6? Potassium ferricyanide. What is the K4FeCN taken 6 times? Potassium ferrocyanide. So in case of a potassium ferricyanide, total number of particles will be 3 potassium ions and 1 complex ion. So total number of particles produced will be how many particles? 4. 1 complex ion and 3 potassium ions. This is very important. Okay. Now question number 64. A substance forms dimer to the extent of 75%. That means let's suppose component A, I am taking the 2 particles which is associated to give 1 particle. So number of particles associated, how many particles associating here? 2 particle. And what is the alpha value given? 75%. That means 0.75. Now what is the iota value? Iota value equal to 1 plus alpha into 1 by n minus 1. Remember, this formula is to be very, very important. Okay, iota is equal to 1 plus alpha into 1 by n minus 1. 1 plus, what is the alpha value? 0.75 into 1 by n value 2 minus of 1. Okay, so 1 plus 0.75, 1 by 2 minus 1, that will be minus 1 by 2. So 1 minus of 0.375, that will be 0.625. This is the iota value. Are you getting my point? Remember, during the association, the iota value always less than 1. During the association, iota value should be always less than 1. Okay. Now, question number 65. What is the degree of dissociation of a calcium nitrate if the Van 't factor will be 2.4? First of all, how calcium nitrate undergo ionization? As a calcium ion, that will be the Ca plus 2 into nitrate ion. That means overall how many particles are producing? 3 particles. And what is the iota value given here? 2.4. Number of particles we know 3 and iota value we know 2.4. With the help of these two we can find the alpha value. Yes, iota value equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. So this is a general formula regarding the dissociation of a solute. Iota value 2.4 equal to 1 plus alpha, that is to be calculated, n minus 1, 3 minus 1, that will be the 2 alpha. So 2 alpha will be equal to 2.4 minus 1, 1.4. Alpha value equal to 1.4 by 2, that will be 0.7. That means in terms of percentage, 70%. In terms of percentage will be 70%. Okay. Now the next question. For a non-electrolyte solution, the Van 't factor will be equal to unity. Just now I told you. In case of a non-electrolyte, example urea, example glucose, example fructose, example sucrose. Regarding these solutes, what is the Van 't factor value? That it will be unity. Remember. Okay. Now question number 67. for a very dilute solution of H3PO3, just now I told you H3PO3 is a dibasic acid which produces 2H plus ions only, and one hydrogen is directly connected with phosphorus. So total number of ions produced will be 3. If the percentage of ionization is not given, that means alpha to be assumed to be 100%. That means iota value number of ions produced will be equal. So iota value equal to 3. Iota value equal to 3. That is the question number 67. Are you getting my point? That means the option 2. That is the iota value equal to 3. And the question number 68. In the question number 68, for a substance A dissolving in a solvent B shows molar mass corresponding to A3. What is the meaning of A3? That means 3 molecules of A will associate together to give A3. That means this is a association. This is called trimerization. This is called what? Trimerization. The degree of association not given, so alpha we are assuming to be 100%. Regarding that, the iota value equal to 1 upon n. 1 upon n. So 1 upon, what is the n value here? 3. So 1 by 3 is the value of iota. Already I told you in the polymerization value, iota is always, that means in the association, iota value always less than unity. So that's why only one option is there, that is 1 by 3, second option. Now the question number 69, the Van Ta factor for the mercurous chloride in the aqueous solution, 80% if it is ionizes. Now just now I told you how the mercurous chloride get ionizes as a mercurous ion, that will be Hg2 plus 2 plus 2 chloride ions. Okay, so total number of ions produced 2 plus 1 3. And what is the alpha degree of dissociation? 0.8 or 80%. From here shall I find the iota? Yes, iota I is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Once again I am repeating, iota equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. So 1 plus alpha value 0.8 and the n value 3, 3 minus 1 how much? 2. Okay, so 1 plus, so 0.8 into 2, 1.6, 1.6 plus 1, 2.6. So finally what is the iota value here? 2.6. So that will be the second option. Okay, now question number 70. Which of the following salt has the same value of Van Ta factor as that of K3FeCN taken 6? Already I told you the name of a K3FeCN taken 6, which is called a potassium ferricyanide. So that means how many potassium ions are there? 3, and one square bracket, that is a complex species. So total number of particles produced in the solution 3 plus 1, that will be the 4. Okay, now out of the 4 options, in which option there will be 4 particles are producing? Option number 3, if you see directly, aluminum nitrate. In aluminum nitrate, how the solute undergoing dissociation in aqueous medium? As a aluminum ions and 3 nitrate ions. 1 plus 3, that will be equal to 4. So that's why I am writing directly answer 3. Are you getting my point? In the first option, if you see 2 sodium ions and 1 sulfate ions, total 3 ions produced. In the second option, 2 aluminum, 3 sulfate, 2 plus 3, 5 ions will produce. In the third option, 3 plus 1, 4 ions produce. In the fourth option, 1 copper ion, 1 sulfate ion, 1 plus 1, 2 ions produce. Now the question number 71. In the question number 71, what is the degree of dissociation? Alpha value of AXBY. It is a direct question. So how the AXBY solute undergoing ionization in the aqueous medium? As a X cations and Y anions. Are you getting my point? So total number of ions will be X plus Y. What is the iota? Iota is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Okay, now here iota equal to 1 plus alpha into, instead of X I am writing X plus Y minus 1. But the question is the degree of dissociation. That means we have to write the alpha value. So alpha value equal to iota minus 1. Iota minus 1 whole divided by X plus Y minus 1. X plus Y minus 1. Okay. Next, one more question is there here. The Van Ta factor, 72 question. Van Ta factor for 0.1 mole of barium nitrate. What is the molecular formula of a barium nitrate? BaNO3 taken twice. So directly shall I write the total number of particles produced? 3, 1 barium, 2 nitrate ions. And what is the iota value given? 2.74. Okay. Then what is the degree of dissociation? Alpha. what is the degree of dissociation alpha? That is the question number 72. You will get the answer 87%. Directly I am writing the answer 87%. Okay. How to calculate the alpha value with the help of iota? Iota is equal to 1 plus alpha times of n minus 1. Here iota value we know and number of particles we know. So from here we can find the alpha value. Okay. Now the last question, that is the question number 73. Which of the following pair of solutions will have the same value of iota? That is the Van 't Hoff factor. Remember, in the first case, K3FeCN taken 6, total 4 ions are producing, whereas in AlCl3 also 4 ions are producing. So same number of ions are producing. That means both the compounds have same iota. In the second option, NaCl and KCl each one produce 2 particles. 2 particles. So both are also having the same iota, Van 't Hoff factor. And next one, FeSO4, NH4 taken twice, SO4, 6H2O. This is known as a Morse salt. Which salt? Morse salt. Are you getting my point? Morse salt. When the Morse salt dissociated in aqueous medium, it gives Fe plus 2 ion, sulfate ion, ammonium ions, and also 2 more sulfate ions. One more sulfate ion. Total 2 moles of sulfate ion. Okay. Now total how many particles here producing? Remember, water is a neutral. We should not consider water as a H plus and OH minus. Okay. We have to only consider the cation and anion. Okay. So total number of ions will be, how many ions are there? 1 Fe plus 2, 2 sulfate 3 and 2 ammonium 5. So total we have 5 particles in the Morse salt. And one more compound is there, KCl, MgCl2, 6H2O. This is called carnallite. What is this? Carnallite. Okay. How it dissociated? K plus Cl minus, MgCl2 dissociate as a Mg plus 2 and 2Cl minus. Here also total how many particles are producing? 1 plus 1 plus 1, 3 plus 2, 5. So here also 5 particles are producing. That means in each option the 2 compounds will have the same iota, Van 't Hoff factor. That's why the final answer will be all of these. Final answer is